Blades Ramble is proudly sponsored by My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. Contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk for more information or follow the link in the description below.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is a video, a ramble, a chat that we didn't want to have, really. Look, we reluctantly, I say reluctantly, obviously we've got to do, that's what I'm here to do, is break news or talk about the latest things that are happening in and around our club. And we went out on a limb last week and were the first to report that Chris Wilder's future were being considered. And unfortunately, that appears to now be the case in terms of, it then got picked up later that day in the national media. And now, today, everybody, all the news outlets are breaking their own stories about it's going to happen this week. He's going to be sacked this week, which, when it gets out in the open so clearly, it will no doubt speed up the process. So I'm expecting in the next day or two this to be completely confirmed. Chris Wilder will be leaving Sheffield United. And now it's happening. I mean, I'm a huge Chris Wilder fan. I always have been. I can make arguments for a change, but they're pale into insignificance compared to what he's actually offered us and what I believe he could offer us next season. Look, he got 92 points on the pitch. We finished on 90 due to the 2-point deduction. We beat our rivals, our bitter rivals, twice in a season of chaos for them, which does add to our pleasure on the pitch. We went very close. We had a bit of a patchwork squad because it was such a huge overhaul. We had some players who were outstanding, some players who were okay and sort of got by, but we were part way through a rebuild. We had the huge tragedy in and around, I can't remember what month it was, because the Leeds and Middlesbrough game were write-offs because we lost an absolute legend in George Baldock, and that cannot get overlooked in terms of the impact it had on the football club and the way that Chris Wilder guided us through that period. It's a sad day for the football club, I think, because I've no doubt when he left the first time, yes, it was a bitter. No, it was widely acknowledged that there'd been a fallout, and even though that was the case, it still felt like there was unfinished business for Chris Wilder at that stage. And I could never rule out him coming back. He gave us the best years, certainly of the modern time. If you are my age, 21, then you will not have experienced any. But if you are 40, I'm 41. If you are my age or below, you will likely not remember a lot of the Bassett days. We know about them, obviously, because a lot of us have been brought up in Sheffield United families. But the best manager of your lifetime will most likely be Chris Wilder. And the way he has made me feel and continues to make me feel about my football club is, I cannot put into words. So it's a sad day for our club because I think this will be it now. I don't anticipate a third spell for him. I don't necessarily think there should be a third spell for him. I think he has done more for our football club than we could ever have imagined. He has written his name into the conversation of being best manager ever. Certainly is of my lifetime, as I've said. My dad would say Bassett just pips him, which Wilder would probably say himself, to be honest. Huge respect for Dave Bassett. And we will probably take the time when the news has settled a little bit more and when the decision's been officially announced to have a little bit of a reflection on Chris Wilder's time with us. That might not do as well as the breaking news stories tend to do. or nonsense content that some people might call it. But this is really what's happening at our club, unfortunately. And we are talking about it. I'm not ashamed to be talking about it. I think people will want to have a chat about it and sort of talk it through so they can get their heads around it. And that's what we're here to do, just so everybody's in the clip. I haven't got clips that I can show on screen, which I usually would do. But obviously, as soon as the news broke, I was out in the taxi. I'd just left for a second stint in the taxi. I'd come home. I'd made myself a coffee. I've still got my travel cup because I was out in taxi. So it's still warm. I just pulled out of my street. I were 50 yards down the road. And then TalkSport announced of at radio, because I'm listening to White and Jordan. Breaking news: Chris Wilder will be sacked in the coming days. Or that word that we try and avoid in our WhatsApp group, imminently. So, what is everybody saying? Let's go to TalkSport first, because they were the first I heard it from. Sheffield United decide to sack Chris Wilder for the second time after playoff final heartbreak. United have decided to sack Wilder after missing out on promotion to the Premier League, TalkSport understands. The Blades were beaten by Sunderland in the Championship playoff final at Wembley last month. His side finished third in the table after their automatic promotion charge faltered in the closing weeks of the season. United were then denied by a 95th minute winner against the Black Cats in the playoffs. Despite the nature of their defeat, Wilder was hailed for his class act in the wake of the final. He spoke to TalkSport the following morning, admitting he was suffering from the loss as he looked ahead to the summer. Wilder leaves Bramall Lane after returning for a second spell as manager in December 2023. His contract had been due to run through to the summer of 2028, with 3 years remaining. However, the 57-year-old has been relieved of his duties after failing to secure an immediate Premier League return. Wilder twice won promotion with the Blades in his first spell in charge, having won League One in 2017. They don't mention this, but with 100 points before securing top-flight football 2 years later. The first time he was sacked was in March 21, with the club bottom of the Premier League. TalkSport understands that Gary O'Neill and Ruben Sellers are among the candidates to replace him. O'Neill is available after leaving Wolves in December, following 16 months in charge. Meanwhile, Sellers was sacked by Hull following the end of the season. The Spaniard had secured the Tigers' championship safety on the final day with a draw at Portsmouth. After leaving United 4 years ago, Wilder went on to manage Middlesbrough and Watford in the Championship. However, he returned to his former club, where he also spent time as a player midway through the 23-24 season. Having replaced Paul Eckingbottom, he was unable to avoid relegation from the top flight. The Blades ended the campaign bottom of the table and 16 points from safety. Across his 2 stints in the dugout, Wilder has won 140 of his 305 matches with the club. Incredible record. That is TalkSport's piece on Sheffield United's decision to remove Chris Wilder from his position. Sky Sports are saying Wilder in his second spell at Bramall Lane, having taken United to the Championship playoff final. The Blades lost 2-1 to Sunderland. Let's have a look what they're saying. He will be sacked by Sheffield United in the next few days. That it can't be, can it? If it's publicly been announced like this, that's not how you can do it. Sky Sports News has been told, following a review of last season when the team missed out on promotion to the Premier League in the playoff final. Contrary to reports elsewhere, which we've just read on TalkSport, the former Wolves boss, Gary O'Neill, is not expected to be the coach to replace Wilder. The Blades won 90 points last season, a total which would have equaled their club record, but for a 2-point deduction imposed by the EFL. And that tally would have been enough to go up automatically in 8 of the last 10 seasons. After 4 successive defeats in the running, United were 15 minutes from victory at Wembley before 2 late goals saw Sunderland promoted instead. Yeah, it's done it. It's just to read it out loud, to be honest. Despite that near miss, the US-based consortium COH Sports, led by Steve Rosen and Helmi Atuki, have decided they want to bring in a new head coach. Now, I don't know whether that's mentioned intentionally, but that's the route I anticipate and we've been talking about on this channel. That will not be O'Neill, however, who was under consideration for the role, but the Blades bosses have decided they want to go in a different direction. They completed a takeover last December when Wilder was already in charge of the team. Sky Sports News has been told there is no rift with the board, and in fact, Wilder has an excellent relationship with Rosen. This change in manager is motivated by the new regime wanting to bring in their own person to lead the football operation. COH are determined to use a data-led approach to recruitment and play, which is something Wilder was open to following the takeover. That is something that we reported, again, when I initially... it sounds a bit twee to talk about my sources. It makes us sound a lot more professional than we are, if I'm honest. But the people that I'd spoken to that I significantly trust, and I mentioned it on the breaking news video that we put out, it is not a rift about the data-driven AI model. And I think that was confirmed by Danny Hall yesterday. So it's something that Wilder was open to following the takeover. At the start of last season, Wilder was in charge during a huge rebuild with 22 players leaving Bramall Lane and the average age of the squad coming down to 24. That's something we haven't mentioned enough, bringing down the average age and improving the assets of the football club. Whilst it's thought that the owners do recognise and appreciate how Wilder has added value to the squad, that has not been enough for him to keep his job. Last week, United signed Nigerian winger Ukaki from the Bulgarian club Botdev Plovdiv, based on his impressive statistics in the first Pro League. And they've just randomly chucked that in as a final line. So that is what they're saying. I do believe that Danny Hall has put out an article as well. I will see if I can have a little... I can't find it on Google at the moment, but I will see if I can find it on my phone. What I'm not going to do with Danny's article, I don't mind doing it for the national papers, but Danny is a local journalist, and a bit like us, sort of being supported and propped up by people that come and view our streams and watch us on YouTube, that the ads support us. Danny is supported by what he puts out in the Star. So go and read Danny's article in the Star. But what... let's have a look. Danny released an article at 11:20. Sheffield United's Gary O'Neill stance after the former Bournemouth Wolvesman linked as Wilder's successor. You can read what Danny says himself about Gary O'Neill. I'm not going to spoil any of that, but he's basically saying Wilder's departure is expected to be confirmed this week after a decision was taken by the American owners. He's paid the price for playoff heartbreak at Wembley last month against Sunderland, with the owners looking for a fall guy and settling on the manager. Wow, quite strong. But again, it's how people are feeling, isn't it? So go and check Danny's article out. That's in the Sheffield Star if you want any more information on his perspective of it. John Percy of The Telegraph is also reporting on this. Chris Wilder will be sacked by Sheffield United in the next 24 hours. Following talks with the Championship club's hierarchy. Okay. Hang on. They're saying in Plat chat that it's not started. We've certainly started, pal. Let's. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Ben, for letting me know. In the Platinum chat, a couple of people were saying we weren't on. Well, otherwise there'll be 850 people that are pretty annoyed if we're not, because they've just been sat here not listening to me doing anything. So, Chris Wilder to leave Sheffield United. Obviously, there's conflicting reports on Gary O'Neill. Sky Sports saying that Gary O'Neill and Ruben Sellers are hot favourites for the role. TalkSport saying... Oh, no, other way around. TalkSport saying that, and then Sky Sports saying, actually, Gary O'Neill's not in the running. Does that mean Ruben Sellers is the main boy at the minute? If anybody knows, should we have a little quick look, actually? Sheffield United manager odds. So the first one that comes up, we'll go Paddy Power, one of the more reputable ones, although Match Bingo are the only ones that I tend to use. Warning. Okay, so they're not... Thanks, Paddy Power. Odds checker. Let's have a little look. Don't need to verify my identity. Come on, we're on a stream here. Right. That's from December 2023. Okay. Who will replace Chris Wilder? Here we go. Next Sheffield United manager betting odds. Just from one site, Sean Dyche is the favourite at 11-4. That won't happen. I don't think. I'd be amazed. I think it'd be a smart appointment, but I don't think it's what we're looking to do. Gary O'Neill is second favourite at 9-2, Steve Cooper at 5-1, Ruben Sellers at 9-1. I don't think they're the latest odds, if I'm honest. So if anybody else has got any odds or wants to send me a link to somewhere that we can have a look at some of the odds, then we can do. I'm going to jump into some of your comments now, and we'll react based off that, because it's just basically, I don't know how long I'm going to be on today. This is confirming the latest news. He hasn't been sacked yet, but there's confirmation that a decision has been made that he will be. Danny says, this can't be about his results on the pitch. The ball clearly want to go in another direction. New style of play. Wilder is stubborn, so might be his downfall. Win, lose or draw, I'll be back for more. Absolutely right. Ev says, hey up Jim, hey up pal, hey up Jim, hey up Jay. How you doing, pal? This is an absolutely ludicrous decision. They better have a replacement lined up. Lost for words, one of our own. What I will say about this is, and it's something that Benjamin Bloom's talked about. For those that aren't aware, Benjamin Bloom will be on the Ramble tonight. Is this the right move? From the view from the Blooming Mountain, he's on with our boy Paolo, and they'll be discussing all things Sheffield United, including this decision. What I will say is, Benjamin Bloom recently did his own Sheffield United piece, saying maybe this has been leaked intentionally, and we sort of leaned into that last night by members of the board that wanted to make this decision. And I think there's two ways to go with that. I mean, if that's been the ultimate thing that now it's out and it's beyond repair, then that's out of order. But I think the one thing it does do for the fan base is it gives you time to adjust. And if this news was just dropped and then they announced Ruben Sellers at the same time, then it's a shock, isn't it? But now there's been about almost a week's grace for people to sort of get their head around it a little bit, and people will still agree with Ev, saying it's shocking and it's a poor decision. But others have started to come round to the way that they might not agree with it, but they understand that it's going to happen. And that's where I think I am, to be fair. I understand it's coming. I've done for a little while now, haven't we? Ray says the owners need to get their act together. Looks so unprofessional, all this with nobody sure what's happening. Is nobody sure what's happening though, Ray? That's the thing, pal. Is he staying? Is he going? Come on, owners, sort it out. I would be of the belief that everybody that needs to know does know. And whilst we as a fan base want to be in the loop, Dave the Nose put it in our group yesterday, there's no divine right for us to be in the loop, unfortunately. Up the blades, up all the rambles, like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. Morning, Jimmy says, Ricky. Morning, pal. It's an absolute disgrace, says Lewis. I wonder how the players will react to this. I think Lee Edridge put something in our chat, and it sounds ridiculously harsh. I don't know whether it was just to me, actually, or I think he said it on Hot Topic. Love Chris Wilder. Long live the king. The king is dead. Long live the king. And that is how Wilder will ultimately see it when the dust settles, I think. The other thing that we have to think about is you can disagree with the decision, but there's been a lot of talk about morals around who should be talking about this, and we don't want to talk about it, all this sort of thing. This is business. This is football, the football business, and it's cutthroat. And whether we like it or not, and it's been mentioned in our chat, but I also mentioned it on the watch along last night. Chris Wilder was negotiating with Sheffield United while Hecky was in post. He did that at Middlesbrough when Warnock was in post. This happens, and it's not just a Chris Wilder thing. This happens all the time. People now negotiate their. Do you not think that Norwich negotiated with Liam Manning before he left Bristol City? Of course they did. There's all sorts of things going on like that now. There's no such thing anymore, really, as tapping up, because you have to make sure your ducks are in a row. It's mad, but it's cutthroat, and that is how it is. So Wilder will no doubt be hurt and believes he has done enough to keep his job. But he will also, there'll be a part of him that understands the football business. And that will, it's not it's not what you want. In fact, there's more people messaging me now, so apologies if I keep getting distracted. But yeah, Biggs is adding to it as well. Well, as per Alex Crook's tweet, says Biggsy, I understand Chris Wilder's been sacked. This is on his Twitter, so I don't mean to spoil any. I wouldn't spoil any articles that Biggsy's putting out. Wilder was effectively sacked either way. It was as if they smoked him out. Alan says, I've got two. This is one of his tweets. I haven't read it fully yet, so I don't know where he's going with that. I've got two files open. One says that's football. The other says complete and utter madness. Actually, they go extremely well together, and it's why I'm not in the least bit surprised by one of the craziest decisions I've ever known. So, yeah, people aren't agreeing with it, and it's understandable that they don't agree with it. But we've been prepared for the decision, haven't we? Tim says, spending a few days in Bangkok, and it's been completely ruined by checking Sky Sports every half hour for news. I know, mate. Ben says, afternoon, Jim. Is it afternoon? No, it's not quite afternoon. I do lose track myself, Ben, so that's not a dig. Seems inevitable now. Gutted about it. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Glad it's not O'Neill. Looking like it could be Sellers or a complete left field option. Up the blades. Up all the rambles. Like and subscribe. That's one outlet reporting it's not O'Neill. We still don't know that. But I think it's looking like, from what most people are pointing to, that Ruben Sellers is in the driving seat. Absolutely gutted, says Dazzler. But we have to trust the owners now and hope they have a great plan going forward. Up the blades, up the ramble, and enjoy the sun. Thank you, pal. Not O'Neill, apparently, says Bladesman. Velo Soul says you should have stuck by him. He would have probably got you promoted next season. Mark says, just mentioned in the group chat, how high in a list of AI-led managers is Wilder? Ah, well, wonder who this new Bulgarian manager of ours is. Absolute dogger, says Rich. If Wilder goes, you lot are staying down, says Liam. Ev says, get rolling just for the meltdown. No chance. Big mistake, says Super Sharp Blades. Sausage roll it is then. Joking, I hope, says Ray. Joe says the reaction to some of our lot is embarrassing. The owners are looking to progress the club. COH Sports out, Sellers out, O'Neill out already. Back whoever it is, back the owners. This is where the majority of people will end up, Joe. The majority of people will end up with this mentality, but because it's still quite raw for some people, it's not an immediate reaction for everybody. I am of that opinion now. You'll struggle to find a bigger Wilder fan than me, and I feel like I have to keep reiterating that after being called a Wilder fanboy for the last 18 months, but because I'm now reporting on his job being removed from his post, that must mean that I love it and I'm talking about it all the time. It's not like that at all. It's not like I would prefer Chris Wilder to stay in charge, but we know he's not now. So, having had time to get my head around it a little bit, we're going to still support the club, aren't we? And he would back that as well. Crazy decision, says Velo. Stephen says, morning, Jimmy, absolutely gutted. I still have hope this doesn't happen. However, my top choice would be Rossini as a replacement. Mine too. I think that would be a great shout. Crazy decision, says Matthew. Like and subscribe. Up the blades, up the ramble. Thank you, mate. Fury says, absolutely mental. Up against 200-point scoring teams. What a crazy decision. Paul Rose of Well Stoned Landscapes, one of our channel sponsors. Thank you, pal. So on the fence with this decision, and I can see both sides of the argument. Yeah, you can. I think it's all underpinned by 92 points, beating Wendy's twice, overcoming a significant tragedy that affected the club top to bottom. I don't think anybody else could have done a better job. Poor decision, in my opinion, from a Leeds fan, says Jamie. RJ says, gutted, mate, but the circle has been broken. Wilder, Hecky, interim, Jokovic, Hecky, Wilder. Jukanovic, sorry, Hecky, Wilder. So does that mean it's going to be... oh, yeah, okay. Sky Sports saying it's not going to be Gary O'Neill. Yeah, Phil, that would be fair. I think we've touched on it. Time to move on and take a different approach by the sound of it, says Joe. Just got to get behind the new manager and go for it again. Wilder did a very good job and he'll leave on a high and a good season. Yeah, absolutely right. If you're Chris Wilder, you are leaving with your head held high, aren't you? What more could he have done other than get promoted? Obviously, that goes without saying. But what more could he have done in the season? Yes, the odd tactical change here and there, if we're being absolutely pedantic. But if somebody had offered you 92 points or 90 points even at the beginning of the season and said, this is your points total, you can have a gamble on whether it gets you promoted or not. Are you taking 90? We're snapping your hand off. 200-point clubs in the division with us. Matt says, unbelievable decision. Can't say I'm necessarily for or against it, I think you mean, but no one can deny it's a huge risk. Just hope they find the right man. Bassett's still my number one, but Wilder's a very close second, says Tim. I think that's the way Andy the Blade has it as well. The Blades also lost Arblaster for the season, which didn't help us. Yeah, that's true. Darren says, just shows that football's all about moments. That VAR goal stands, and who knows what would have happened. Sad to see him go, but we're in a better place than we were 12 months ago. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. We are, Daz, but a lot of people would say that's because of Wilder, wouldn't they? So Josh says, time to look to the future. I, for one, am excited to see what kind of unknown talent we can find from around the world rather than just more championship mediocrity. Interesting. Rai says, I'm a Leeds fan and I love to see a manager with huge passion for the club. Would be a shame to see him go. I agree, pal. I agree. It is a huge shame. It's the end of an era at Sheffield United, and it's going to take some time for some people to get their heads around it. Joe says, for the owner's sake, let's hope they get this right and back the new manager properly and give him a chance next season. Cooler King says, I know you and lots of Blades fans love Chris Wilder to bits, so I'm very sad to hear this news. As a neutral, though, I think this could be a blessing in disguise. New owners, new manager, new direction. Thank you, Cooler King. Always the voice of reason on the channel. I appreciate your continued support. Even as a Villa fan, you're always welcome here. Scott says, unless a very strong name is coming in, this is such a pointless decision. Imagine swapping Wilder for Ruben Sellers. Bloke almost took Hull down. Diabolical. Owners have some stones for this. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Think we're in need of a change, says Dino. Get the right man in. New system, new ideas. Onwards and upwards, up the Blades. Apparently O'Neill is out of the running, says Nath. I think it will probably be Sellers now. What's your views on him, Jimmy? There's been strong Ruben Sellers rumours from the get-go. His name's been constantly mentioned. And you don't put a name into the mix like that without substance. So Ruben Sellers being in the mix with Gary O'Neill, who's got Premier League experience. Sean Dyche, who's got Premier League experience. Steve Cooper, Premier League experience. All would be expected to be in the mix for a top championship job. Ruben Sellers, not quite proven enough to be in the mix for those conversations. Reputation doesn't quite join up with the other candidates. So he seems a left field name to be put in, but he's been put in from the start. So I would say there's a reason he's in there. He's in the mix. I believe he could be the choice. That is a guess rather than a prediction, if you like. But I have to be open-minded about it. I have to be open-minded because in his first job at Southampton, he didn't pull up any trees. In his second job at Reading, he did a sensational job. Absolutely, that's for you, Dave and Man Mountain. Sensational job. Was working in circumstances not too dissimilar from our neighbours, the blue half of Sheffield. Not too dissimilar in terms of financial peril that they were in as a club, and had them in and around the playoff mix after losing a lot of their top players. He then went to Hull. They were bottom of the league when he took over. The way that he had them playing, their form with him in charge was something like 13th, 14th in the league, which from taking over a team that the form was 24th in the league when he took over isn't bad at all. He's significantly improved them. And yes, they only just survived, but they also had the best defensive record outside the top three for his time at the club. So there are a lot of positives in what Ruben Sellers has done. And I don't put any credence on the Hull ownership sacking him because they are nutters. There are significant nutters in this league. Defpon is top king nutter. And Watford and Hull are in a close fight for second place in terms of delusional ownership. So I would be open-minded with Ruben Sellers. It's my first choice is to keep Chris Wilder, but that's not going to happen. And we lent into that as much as we possibly could when we originally broke the news. We wouldn't have done it had we not been pretty sure that it was legit. And now Sellers is being linked as probably the strongest candidate now, or the closest one to the job. I haven't heard names like Sean Dyche closely linked, unfortunately. Danny Roll's been murmured at times, but quickly shot down. Steve Cooper will always be in the mix for a top championship job and even a bottom prem job sometimes, but probably more top championship. Liam Rossini is the boy for me, but Ruben Sellers, whatever happens, we'll have to, we'll be behind him, won't we? We'll be behind him. I'm 39 and the first I remember is the beginning of the Premier League, says Luke. Chris is easily the best manager in my lifetime. Jamie says, managers who have that passion don't come around often. Simon Grayson, the last for us. What team are you, Jamie? Are you Leeds? Or Huddersfield? It must be Leeds then. He's a Leeds fan, isn't he, I think. Josh says, all we can do is look forward. I feel sorry for how this has been handled for Chris. I really feel like the owners just want full control. They might as well get on the touchline themselves at this rate. I'm actually scared for this AI model and hope it proves me wrong. Imagine they use the AI model for first team players. What if it doesn't work? Are they going to sack the next manager and blame it all on them? Be nice to hear from Gaz again on this and his views. We certainly will be getting Gaz Sinclair back on the channel. Morning, Jimmy and all the Ramblers. In my opinion, they have to get this right or we are in trouble. If we're in the bottom 5 after 10 games, what happens then? I will support my club always. Up all the Rambles, up the Blades, like and subscribe. Thank you, David. Hope you well, mate. MP Electrical says, totally disagree with the decision. The hold up with the announcement, in my opinion, is down to waiting for the new manager. Expect it to be a quick turnaround. Yeah, I agree. I think it will be similar to when Eki went. No speculation on who's replacing him. It's here's Chris Wilder replacing Paul Heckingbottom. Feels like a major step back, says Will. First non-performance we've had in a few years too. Massive decision from the owner, says Tom. Oh, what I wouldn't give for a steady drama-free pre-season. I know, mate. I know. Don't get them often now at United, dear. Morning, Jim. Well, gutted isn't the word. All we can hope for now is an exciting replacement and some solid player signings to help us all move on and enjoy the upcoming season. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man Joe. Dempsey says, let's be real. The long-term plan is to be Prem mainstays. We lost 4 out of 4 against teams we should be looking to get an edge over. Big decision, and one of the owners must get it right. Bram behind them. Yeah, we've got to be behind him, haven't we? A bad decision like this can impact your club for years. Championship is so hard to get out of, and Wilder knows how to do it. He was up against unprecedented 100-point scoring autos last season. Thing is, we can't just, it's people's opinion that it's a bad decision. And we have always been a place where people can come on and give their honest opinion on what they think. I encourage that. There's a lot of people unhappy with this decision, me included. But if we don't know that it's you might disagree with the decision, but we don't know if it's a bad decision yet, do we? We don't know that, because it's what have you done for me lately a lot of the time. And by that, I don't mean people will forget Chris Wilder quickly, because they won't and they shouldn't and they will never do that. But if the new manager comes in, if it is Ruben Sellers, for example, and we're top of the league come Christmas, it won't have been a bad decision, will it? It won't. I think it's a bold decision. I think it's, at the moment, I think it's a slightly naive decision, potentially, but I might be wrong on that. So we don't know that it's a bad decision. It's a huge decision is what it is. Joe says, you've got to look at it like the owners are trying to make a sustainable Prem side. Buy cheap and sell high. If they get it right, just look at Brighton and Brentford. There's so much potential. Home Funk says, Wilder Smilder. Let's let go of the nostalgia loving. Great manager. Like players, managers peak. Wilder has peaked a few years ago and good luck to him. However, we need a proper manager. The sooner the better. The sooner Wilder fanboys let Wilder let it go and realise modern football isn't pump it and run. Slav, we tried to do it, but he wasn't backed. We need to set the club up so that the manager isn't the be-all and end-all. Should it be plug in a good coach and go with the same frame within a framework? Get Sellers off Cifuentes, for me. Cooper is busy in Europe, I have heard. He's working for the FA and wants from what I understand, he wants a European job. Home Funk, I'm going to counter that with as well. People are allowed to be upset. So I've just countered the point that it's a bad decision and we don't know whether it is a bad decision or not. But people are also allowed to be upset that they're losing the best manager of a generation, if not this club's ever had. And the never mind Wilder, Schmilder, let's get rid of the nostalgia. It's what has this man given to us, both as a club and individually, how they've made us feel. He took his Sheffield United team have pulled me through some terrible times. And that's because he has brought success and joy to my life. He's brought me and my family close together. Well, not that we weren't a close family anyway, we always have been, but it's an experience that we all share together and we want to go to games. We didn't want to go to games in Adkins' era. We didn't want to because it weren't fun. We did go. And thankfully, my dad was scouting then, so we didn't have to get a season ticket and sit through miserable mediocrity. But Chris Wilder's affected a lot of people in a lot of positive ways. I wouldn't have likely started the Ramble had Chris Wilder not made me feel how I feel about my club. And then that's pulled me through a really difficult time in my personal life, having this channel and this community that's come from that. And that's in huge part to Chris Wilder. So for anybody that thinks that, it's just another manager, it's not. It's not. And I think you have to be a real sort of fan of this football club and have bought into it and not necessarily go to games, because I don't buy that you have to go to matches to support the club. People's circumstances are always different. But if you're a Sheffield United fan, you understand what it's like having Chris Wilder in charge of your club. So it's it's a sad day in a lot of ways, but it's also a day that we can look forward in terms of, right, like Lee said, the king is dead, long live the king. And that's the attitude we have to have. We have to have it that way. We all love Chris Wilder, and we will likely do a stream thanking him for everything he's done for the club, because there's nobody deserves it more. What do Yanks know about soccer? F all, says S. CJ says, one thing's for certain, this appointment has to be a statement one. Yeah, it does. Is Ruben Sellers a statement? If it's Ruben Sellers, I'm not sure. Would Gary O'Neill be I know he's not being as closely linked now, but would that be a statement one? Maybe. Helen says, at least it's an amicable parting between Wilder and the board, apparently. Yeah, I believe it is, Helen. I believe it is. I don't think there's been a huge fallout. How can there be with everything he did last season? I'm not saying they saw eye to eye on everything. I'm sure they didn't. He's a stubborn man that likes to get his own way into it, as we all know. But he's done everything we could have asked for. Alex Crook now reporting Ruben Sellers is among the contenders for Sheffield United. Okay. Interesting. The Bladesman aggregating a story from Sky Sports News saying Gary O'Neill had been under consideration to replace Wilder as United manager, and the former Wolves boss does still have fans at Bramall Lane, but United's owners decided they wanted to go in a different direction. Interesting. Apparently I'm up for the British Podcast Awards. Thank you to Claire who sent me that through. Yeah, that's it. That's very kind. BritishPodcastAwards.com. Vote for the Blades Ramble if you can. And if you're not already, please do like and subscribe. Share your vote via social media channels and tag us in Instagram at British Podcast Awards. Use the hashtag British Podcast Awards. Okay, cool. Thank you, Claire. That's very much appreciated. Sorry, I was distracted there when I was trying to get the new hold of all the news and where it's all coming from. Velo says, Home Funk, you'll be enjoying the championship for some time now, unfortunately. Stephen says it's a disgrace, a complete disgrace. Gary O'Neill, no thanks, says Walter. Has the stream started yet? Ray, are you on, Ray? I'm sure you are, pal. You must be, surely. All right, yeah. Ray's had to restart YouTube. I've just seen it in the chat. Hello, Jimmy. Do you agree with Ben Bloom's take that new ownership should have the right to sack a manager and build their own vision of the club? Absolutely, they've got that right. Absolutely, they've got that right. And this was always a danger when new ownership came in. He's not their man. Wilder is not the man that they picked. While ever he was having success on the field, he was going to survive. Of course he was. But I think do you know what I liken it to? And this is just a little bit off the top of my head, really, but I have thought this for some time. Eddie Howe at Newcastle. And what I mean by that is, and if you don't click me up because this is a genuine point I want to make. Eddie Howe, the Saudi investment came into, I think it's Saudi, but the significant investment came into Newcastle where the PIF fund or whatever it's called, they became a monetary powerhouse in world football. Eddie Howe was not their man. Never got picked by them. Was vulnerable at that point when they came in. The only thing I think that saved Eddie Howe a little bit is FFP. Newcastle could not splurge all the money that they are able to do in terms of their power. They had to be patient with it and build year on year, getting stronger and stronger, getting bigger sponsorship deals so they're able to spend more money and becoming a powerhouse over time. So Eddie Howe had been winning with Newcastle and he continued to win with Newcastle. And as Newcastle edged up in the rankings in terms of powerful clubs, bit by bit, as their reputation grew in world football, Eddie Howe added quality. Isak came in. All these... I'm not a huge Newcastle expert, but they brought in significant players. And with that, they grew and became a tougher side to beat and a more powerful side in the Premier League. They won a trophy for the first time in ages and ages and ages. And he has continued to bring that success to them. So why? And to the point where he's sort of leveled out and he's seen to be a top manager now. So why would Newcastle change him? But he's had to win and win and win and win and continue his own progression alongside the progression of the club. Wilder, similarly, really, he's not their man. They want to go in a different direction. They're not convinced by him. A little bit like the ownership at Newcastle won't have been convinced by Eddie Howe, no doubt, because he wasn't a huge name at the time. They've got in their mind they want maybe a head coach and a director of football or a sporting director or whatever it is that they want. But while ever Wilder's winning and successful, we'll stick with him. And they did that, and they got him a new contract in January because he'd earned it on the pitch and he'd done a significant job of steering the club in the right direction. But ultimately, we failed in our goal of getting promoted. So they've made the huge decision. Rather than stick with him and go again, they want to now implement their way, the way that they view soccer. So I think that's similar to what's happened. So, but yes, sorry, Righteous One. Ultimately, the answer to your question is the owners, they can do what they want. I think they have to be aware of how it's going to affect the club in a wider scale. But ultimately, like the fan base might not be happy with it, for example, but ultimately, it's their decision. I think a lot of people were unhappy at Bournemouth when Gary O'Neill got the sack there because he was doing a good job. Iraiola's come in and done a great job. Rather than a good job that O'Neill were doing, Iraiola's come in and done a great job. If we finish top 2 next season, whoever's come in, it will be... Actually, it was the right decision. There'll still be some that say, with this backing, Wilder would definitely have got us promoted. And that might be true, but we'll never know. So that's my thoughts on it. Joe says these owners have made a massive call and have to get this right. It's a big risk this early on in their tenure, but if done correctly, this could push the club forward for the better in the long run. Absolutely right. Their own, says S. We had one of our own. That's one of our own. It's not their own, is it? They have to choose the manager. Can't fathom this, says Stephen. Does the board then sack the new manager if he doesn't get 93 points? I'm just really glad that this has worked in the past with Warnock. Wilson and Wilder first stint. Oh, wait. Gideon's Radio Sheffield says we're close to the new manager, so it's one out of work. Not necessarily, but most likely, Max. Most likely. You need to get on board with the Patreon, you pal. Michael says, well, if there's no falling out with Wilder and Wilder is open to the new AI recruitment process, why do the board want to replace him? We don't know, do we? We don't know the reasons. Maybe we find out the reasons if they're doing a press conference when they announce the new manager. Maybe they will, but I don't think we'll ever know the true ins and outs. I think it's a mistake if the replacement is Ruben Sellers, says Ollie. I'd honestly take sausage roll over Sellers, says Scott. You can't take Danny Roll. If Danny Roll's the manager of any other club, then he's got to be a leading candidate for this Sheffield United post. He has brought a terrible club and squad up to heights that they could only imagine with the lack of talent that they've got. And they hopefully will drop like a stone now that he's gone. But because he's managed the blue half, and a little bit because what went off with our club earlier in the season, you can't have him. You can't have him. The minute we lose, it's agent role, and it's losses hurt twice as much because they're absolutely loving it, aren't they? So it's tough. I mean, the opposite side to that, of course, is he gets promoted to Premier League. I don't know. I don't know, Scott. Maybe I could be convinced, but I don't. I think it's too murky a path. Conclasher 3 says, unless they have someone great lined up, this is a crazy decision. Luke says, I'm enjoying the people saying we need a change, but then putting names out there lesser than Wilder. I wonder if these people will disappear from these chats if it all goes boobs up. I don't think so, mate. I don't think so. They can have that opinion, can't they? They can have that opinion, and we might think that Ruben Sellers in a patch on Wilder. I might think that. You might think that. I'm not saying whether I do or not. But then if the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. I never get that saying right. But we will have to see, won't we? It's a suck it and see moment. Chris says, Jimmy, you should be charging counselling fees for us lot. We need the therapy. This is part of what we're here for, Chris, innit? We're all United. The majority of people in the chat are United. So I appreciate everybody that comes and joins us. But talking it through and getting our heads around it is part of it. And we need to stay on the same page as a fan base. And that's not my job to get everybody together. And I don't profess to try and do that. But talking about it makes people feel better, I think, in terms of working through it and seeing different perspectives. Scottish Blade says, I feel sorry for Chris. He's overachieved and been treated poorly over this, I feel. However, it's time for a change and appoint a modern forward-thinking manager to take us into the future in the Prem. Okay. I think I'm about there, to be honest. Not that I think it's time for a change, but I think because they're changing it, let's get behind whoever they do appoint. Matthew says, gutted Jimmy, if not O'Neill, then who? The owners are taking a big gamble here and just hope it works out. Isa Blade says, the thing I'm most pleased about is that at least your reputation is intact. Nice one. Thank you, Isa. Yeah, it were a big risk that we took, weren't it? And look, I would have probably taken a battering, but the only reason I might have looked daft last week after breaking that story is if they'd have made a change of heart, if they'd have had a change of heart, if they'd have decided to stick with him, because people would never believe me then that, well, he was going to be sacked. It was going to, and I'm not, it's not my place to come out and say, well, that was definitely going to happen. They were going to sack him because it's poor stuff to doing it. But yeah, the silver lining, unfortunately, is that the Ramble were first to break the news, and it gives us a little bit of credibility and keeps our reputation strong. David says, if it was a review after Wembley, why has it taken nearly 4 weeks to confirm? It stinks to me that they knew after Wembley, but wait until they had their man in place. I'm fuming. If that's the case, David, morally it's not great. But is it smart business? If they wanted the right man and to negotiate, maybe you should relieve Chris of his duties. But then, if you haven't spoken to your right man, they might say, I still want to keep certain members of staff. I still want to keep Jack Lester. I still want to keep Nathan Winder. I still want to keep this, that, and other. Because if Wilder leaves, then usually his staff go with him. But I think I read, for example, and this is just an example, it's not meaning he's definitely going to be the man. When Ruben Sellers left Reading, he took 2 members of staff with him. I think he took his assistant and a first team coach. So if he's taking those 2, if Ruben Sellers comes in with just an assistant and just a first team coach, we might see Christy Wilder and Alan Nill leave the club. But they might still want, I mean, Matt Prestridge will probably leave as well, but they might still want to keep Jack Lester, Nath Winder, any other coaches, Tom Little, any others that are behind the scenes, they might want to stick with them. So it's hard to sack a manager, or it's not necessarily a good business decision to sack a manager who could then say, right, boys, this is our squad. This is our squad of non-playing staff. We are going to go together to the next job, when they might still have a job at Sheffield United without knowing. So I get the thought process behind it of that element, if that makes sense. Nearly 1,500 people here. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. The majority on X again. But if you're not already subscribed, please just nip over to YouTube and so you can continue watching on X, even though it don't pay us anything and we are supported on YouTube. But if you just drop us a subscribe and a like, that would very much help us out. I would appreciate it. Kershaw says, from a neutral, it's a very harsh decision. Whoever comes in would need an exceptional season to better 92 points. Yeah, I agree. I agree, mate. Very harsh. Feel very sorry for you guys, says Velo. The board didn't know what they had. He deserved at least another season. There's a lot of blades saying exactly the same. Walter says, Ruben Sellers, no thanks. Rossini over Sellers. Surely says, right, just one. In my book, I would want Liam Rossini to come in. Didn't agree with some decisions Wilder made, but this is crazy, says Glenn. I can't see a better manager out there to get us up better than him. Hope we've not got shot ourselves in the foot. Stephen says, Rob Edwards at 5. At 5s as in, I thought you were joking that he's going to be announced at 5 o'clock. Do you mean he's at 5s in terms of the betting odds? Because that would be interesting. His name's not really been mentioned, has it? But it adds another name for us to potentially talk about in 10-minute transfers. Matthew says, personally, I'm optimistic for the future and a new direction. Wilder did well, but found watching us quite a chore last season, despite the points total. This has been a point that people have raised in terms of we got the points, but the performances were pretty average at best. Sometimes a difficult watch in terms of the way that we saw games out. And for such a strong squad, we should have been dominating more than we did. I think sometimes we got results because we had better players rather than anything else, which is clearly what you'd like. Leeds dominated some games, half of the games probably last season. Burnley were the better side in 2/3 of the games last season. Very rarely did we put on really strong performances. Coventry stands out. Oxford at home stands out. Middlesbrough. There might be one or two that I'm missing. Other than it's certainly a handful of games that we were really impressive. Leeds for the first 45 minutes. Will says, already getting pelters from Wednesday fans now. Sod it, announce roll so we can watch the chaos. How on earth are they even? So they've stuck their head above the turret for a little bit because their manager who wants to leave and is suing them, and all their players want to walk out for free. They dare to have a pop at the red half. Not a chance. Get back in your box. Can't fathom this, says Stephen. Does the board sack the new manager if he doesn't get 93 points? Oh, yeah, you've said that. I think you've put it twice. Righteous one saying Rooney is 10-1. I think you're lying. Chris Colchin says we need to nominate a Ramble spy to go down to Bramall Lane car park for the rest of the day and report back to the Ramble base, all the comings and goings, up the blades, up the Ramble. Chris, I can tell this is your first window in the Platinum chat because that happens every window. We have there's people in our chat that live opposite the both Shirecliff and Bramall Lane, and we've got spies everywhere, and we're getting regular updates on the lights are on. The lights are on. I'm trying to zoom in and see what it is on the pitch. It's so funny. It's like we're trying to do player bingo really on who's coming and going. So yeah, you'll enjoy that, Chris, I think, over the summer as things start to settle and we become more excited about what Sheffield United are going to look like. Fabrizio just announcing that Alfie Gilchrist will leave Chelsea on a permanent deal this summer. Strong interest from Championship clubs, with several options being considered. I wonder if Sheffield United will be back in that conversation now that Wilder is not going to be the manager, because I'm not sure he'd come back with Chris Wilder. But big pals with Siddy Peck. Would he come back under a new manager if a new manager wanted him? I know he's not the complete defender that we thought he might be, but at a good age, I think he'd be a really smart signing for us. All right, Jimmy, looking forward to that tonight as well. Nice one, Adam. Thank you, pal. Yeah, that's for those that are only just joining us, I will remind you what that is. Tonight on the channel, we have got a view from the blooming mountain. That is Paul back with View from the Mountain and special guest Benjamin Bloom. That'll be live at 8 o'clock tonight. Really looking forward to that. And obviously, they've got a lot of things to discuss. So, two lads that I really value their opinion. Thank you to Ben for jumping on the channel. Paul's first big, it's not an interview, is it? It's a conversation between two lads who I think really know this stuff. So, I will be watching. And it's more a move towards you're not having to see this face on every time you put the Ramble on your screens. So Luke says, when it comes to the Championship, newer isn't always better. I agree with that. Rob says, absolute disgrace. I will bet anyone the new manager won't get more than 92 points next season. Shoes off anyone, up the blades, up the Ramble. You won't be far wrong, Rob, in terms of the points total. It's about getting promoted into it ultimately, but 92 points will be ridiculously tough to achieve. Rossini won't leave Strasbourg. He's done well there, says Jamie. He finished 7th in League One. Bigger club, and probably playing in a top flight of European football is kudos, isn't it? And I think it makes him look really strong in terms of going to a foreign country and managing. So I think he might be slightly out of reach. But I said to Man Mountain on the stream the other day, I think that he will return to a Premier League job when he comes back to England. And he said, yeah, but to who? Who's going to take him in the Premier League? And it's a fair point. I don't think any Premier League teams take a chance on him, which then puts him back in top-end Championship bracket, which we are in. Undoubtedly, we are in. Strasbourg are a bigger club than us. They play in European football from time to time. But I don't think League, other than the top teams, is a significantly better standard than the Championship. I don't. So I've outside hope that we could have got him, but I think the new man's already known, to be honest. Surely if you're upgrading on Wilder, sellers can't be a consideration, says Chris. Wilder's actions after games will have been a big part of his undoing, says David. His behaviour at times was embarrassing. It was well backed in January and ultimately failed. I think that's cold, but is it factual? Some will say yes. I think some of his behaviour can certainly come into question. I don't think he covered himself in glory down at Plymouth and all the fines that the players received. So, yeah, it's one of them. Not a CW fanboy for non-footballing reasons, really, but this is harsh and disappointing, says Ease of Blade. DT says, welp. Glad they read my comment on your previous video just to get on with it so we can move on, for flip's sake. Sports Kids reporting club close to announcing a replacement, just final details to work out, says Scotty. Good news, no more Jack Robinson, says Ben. Thought you good, Ben. Top man. Big T says, like I said, Sheffield United was here before Wilder and will be here long after. How many times last season did we say Wilder got that one wrong or football is poor? Yes, it's a sad day, but it's a new start. Tony's there already, innit? Tony is there, Big T, saying, look, it is sad. And it is. He's done an awful lot for the football club. But we will progress, won't we? We will move on. And Wilder knows that, and Wilder will be accepting of that. Don't be surprised to see him if he's out of work next season, because he may choose to take a break. We all know he's done well out of football because he's a very successful manager. Don't be surprised to see him in stands, away games, or even at home games, because he could well be. He's a big blade. He's as big a blade as any of us, isn't he? And he wants the best for the club. Archie says, we will be the new West Brom and Norwich, rattling away mid-table after this decision, especially if we don't go up due to no more parachute payments to help. We'll see, mate. We'll see. I'm not saying you're dead wrong. but it's certainly a gamble. Blade for life, not just for Wilder, says Tony. Up the Blades. Rumours you're being replaced on the Ramble, Jimmy? Never. I'm not being replaced. I'm not being replaced, thankfully. They can't do that to me. I have ultimate power. But we are trying to expand our content and our offering. That doesn't necessarily mean in terms of volume, even though there's a lot of content out from the Ramble at the minute, and we are experimenting with different stuff. But there are faces that people enjoy, and I enjoy. And again, that's always a barometer. If I enjoy watching people, I that's a gauge for me in what I want to put out on the channel. So Dave the Nose might be leading on a couple of hot topics coming up. So that's sort of dipping his nose into something new. And Man Mountain, who is a confident streamer in his own right now, I would probably say he's done his own watch along on the channel solo. He's now going to be doing he's done his own live content in terms of View from the Mountain. He's now going to be doing a conversational piece with Ben Bloom. A lot of people rate what he has to offer, me in particular as well. So not being replaced, but certainly just adding to the offering, hopefully. Absolute joke of a football club, says Chris. Just thrown away everything Wilder's built over the last decade. Sam says, after everything he's done for us, to treat him like this twice is so poor. Hard to care too much. I'd actually find it funny if next season was a disaster. Owners would deserve it. Wow. Disgraceful decision, says Jonathan. Ollie says, Ruben Sellers signing from the Bulgarian league. I'm sure I'll be proved wrong, but if it looks like you're doing things on the cheap. F the owners, says S. AMG Personal Training says, what a disgrace. It's outrageous. Luke says, I'm happy to back the manager, but the pressure is massive on him and the owners. Anything other than playoffs is a failure. Chris says, feel gutted, but I know deep down it's the right move. CW gave us some amazing days. First promotion to the Prem that was the best for me. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. You feel it's the right move, Chris? That's interesting. Michael says, new owners act like a male lion taking over a pride of lions, killing off what was there to plant their own seed. Yet there is very little wrong with Sheffield United under Wilder that another season won't fix. What an interesting analogy that is, to be fair. There is very little wrong with Sheffield United at the moment. There's gaps in the squad, undoubtedly, and me and Dave the Nose will be talking about that tomorrow. We've already looked at the defence. We're going to look at the midfield tomorrow, but it's a huge decision, this, isn't it? Gary says, as an outsider, if this is true, Jimmy, this is beggar's belief. They cannot really be football people, therefore cannot gauge what the city support really wants and needs. It's frightening to think that they think they know better, but we have to trust that they do. It's their investment. They obviously want Premier League football. That's what all ownership models want. And it's just how much they're going to back the new man now to get us there. Jeff says, I've been a supporter since 1958. I've seen lots of changes, but I'm still here. Shout out to you, Jeff, top man. Lee says, very disappointed at the decision by COH, as I feel CW is the right man to take us back up. He was never their man, as there were rumours of him going when they first came in. In Wilder, we trust. Nick says, because the reports came out last week, the decision will have filtered down, but the delay and now this news, it will sting. As an outsider, this has not been handled well at all. I don't think the optics look good. I don't think they do. Really, really hope it's not Daesh. Well, I think you'll be right. He's a Blade. I don't think it will be Daesh. He's not really being touted, has he? I've got a video planned, and thank God I haven't recorded it yet. That's for 10-minute transfers tomorrow. What if it's Daesh? Well, I've done what if it's Sellers. I've done what if it's O'Neill. There might be a press conference tonight, so it's never mind what if. I'm just gonna have to roll with it. We might be live tomorrow morning. AMG Personal Training says, win, lose or draw, we'll come back for more. It's going to be United all the way. Absolutely right. Even though I love Wilder, says Rob. He's made some strange decisions when push comes to shove, and I'll get behind the next manager. It's not Chris Wilder FC. We come back for more. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Thank you, mate. Michael says, didn't work out last time we sacked him, did it? My worry is the replacement. Josh says, it's a shame this seems to have interrupted a clean summer to prepare for next season. Yeah, it is. I think that's a big worry of mine, to be honest. It feels like we've not had a good summer to have a solid pre-season in ages. Buddish Blade says 2 years forecast role establishes Blades in the top half of the Prem. Owls seething as they drop to League One. Love that comment. Love that comment. I'll take him if that's going to be what happens. Callum says, I hate to talk all conspiracy theories, but have you heard of Anton Zingarevich, as the pronunciation probably points towards? No. The ex-Reading owner and current bot dev manager, plus he had Sellers as his manager at Reading. It's all a bit dodgy to me. So the former Reading owner who had Sellers as manager is the bot dev Plovdiv manager. Okay. Right. He's their manager and we are buying players from them. 2 players now from bot dev Plovdiv. There is a link there, isn't there? But the club is still here today and will be tomorrow, says Lee. Players, managers and staff will always come and go, but the club will always be there. All that matters is the badge on the front of the shirt, not the name on the back. That's right. David Smith, good name. My brother's name. Don't agree. If they sack Wilder, it'd be better leaving till Christmas than when we're mid-table. If we're mid-table, the board can blame Wilder. However, they get rid now and we're mid-table, we'll have to sack the board. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. We can't sack the board, can we, obviously? Wilder sacking was a disaster, says no smoke without fire. Oh, Leeds. All right, okay. If they gamble on Sellers, they might as well have just gambled on another year with Wilder, says right. Just one. Matthew says, I did my grieving when Wilder left the first time. I was genuinely gutted. I was, mate. It wrote me off for about a week. This time I say thank you to him. Best we've had, and looking forward to who the new man is and the players that follow. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Well said, Matthew. Well said, mate. Sean thinks Lee's bang on, 100%. No smoke without fire is about to get hidden for just spamming us with Leeds stuff on a Chris Wilder stream. Hyder says, makes me worried about what players they will sell. I was confident Wilder would get us promoted. None of the managers linked interest me at all. Big T says, if we go up next season, will everyone say it was the right decision? Yes, they will, Tony. You'll still get like when everything was going well with Wilder, you'd still have the odd 1 or 2 in quiet corners saying that, Wilder's not the man, Wilder's not. You'll always get detractors in some form or fashion. You'll always have people saying, even if we finish top of the league with 101 points, you'll get people saying, Wilder could have done that if you'd have backed him, same way you've backed Ruben Sellers. But the majority will come round. It's what happens on the pitch. Shame if this happens. Wilder is Blades through and through, says Adrian. As a Leeds fan, it took us 2 years to get back to the Prem. I think Wilder would do it. Up the Blades Ramble. Thank you, mate. Beast Boy says, just seen the news. I'm very happy that it's not O'Neill, but sad to see Wilder go. Thomas says, don't think you lot go up now. Jonathan says, the club really need to put out a statement and also what the plan is moving forward, if there is one. Sellers Barmy Army, says Beast Boy. Gone, says Alan. Just gone. Ricky says, it is what it is. Now let's get behind the new manager and the boys next season. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Absolutely right. Gary O'Neill, please board. I'd be buzzing, says right. Don't look like it's happening. Don't look like it's happening, pal. Sky Sports or Talk Sport, one of the two are saying Gary O'Neill's out of the running. Great Bant says, can't help but feel this is a mistake that could be a setback. But maybe all those fans who claim Wilder's bad with money, a new manager might be better at spending the resources we have these days. Maybe so, pal. Maybe so. What about David Ancelotti for the job? No. Why? Because do we want a Nepo hire? Do we want? I don't know what he's done, to be honest. It's Carlo's boy, isn't he? Terrible news, Jimmy, says Jonathan. Yeah, it's a sad day, mate. Guy Fawkes says he's joining his dad at Brazil. Got confirmed the other day, mate. Okay, right, fair enough. Sky Sports has just announced that Wilder is to be sacked in the next few days following an end-of-season review. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles, like and subscribe from a Blade in Blaze in Spain. Yeah, that's what we've been talking about, pal. Super Positive Jack says, I've been in the gym. Has he gone then? It's very harsh. It's very, very harsh. It can be seen as a positive and a negative. I'm trying to be positive about it, but I don't really know what to think. If that makes sense. Absolutely it does, pal. Brett says, I don't understand sacking the best manager we've had in a long time for a manager that got half the points Wilder did. Baffles me that some don't see the massive risk. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe on YouTube. Yes, thank you, pal. Very much appreciated. We are we are kicking up in subs. Thank you for everybody that's come over and subscribed that wouldn't usually. Nearly 1,700 people here on different platforms. Over 1,000 of them are on X. Brett, in terms of this, I don't think people don't see it as a risk. It's just we acknowledge that it's a risk on the whole, but some are agreeing and some aren't. And at the minute, most are seeing it as a very, very big risk. And with Chris Wilder, I think you're guaranteed. I was saying this, I was on the phone to Man Mountain last night. We were both saying that you're guaranteed playoffs, I think, with Chris Wilder, with this squad. Guaranteed it. The only reason you change it is if you are nailed on for we need automatic promotion. So whoever comes in, that has to be the minimum aim, automatic promotion. Huge risk. Where are we now? Do we know who's coming in? We've got a fair idea. Yes, pal. Jimmy, if the rumours turn out to be true, will you turn against the board? Do you mean if the rumours turn out to be true about Wilder leaving or the potential appointment they're bringing in? Either way, Michael, no, I won't, because I love Chris Wilder. I cannot state that any clearer. But I'm a Sheffield United fan, and I will back the club. I don't think they're doing it for any other reason than to try and get better. And it might be a mistake. We'll find out this time next year, won't we? How much of a mistake or a success it's been. But of course I'll back them. Of course I will continue to back the club and the board who are doing it for the right reasons. With Wilder in charge, you always felt part of it was also partly with Hecky, but with the other managers, you felt like you were just a spectator. Yeah, I think we've been spoilt with Chris Wilder. Not only being a blade, but being a hugely successful blade, our most successful manager in the modern era. But we've been spoilt that he's sort of understood us and been one of us. Sacking Wilder is just utterly stupid, says Pilot. Honestly, ridiculous. Maury, who joined us on the watch along last night, thank you, pal. Knew it was coming, to be fair. Trying to catch this on break at work. I think Ruben Sellers is our new manager. Fabrizio Romano has just tweeted. Thank you to Jack for posting this in the group. Well, he hadn't just tweeted it. We're 11:10. Chris Wilder is set to leave United. That makes sense now. That makes sense because Alex Crook got it after Fabrizio Romano tweeted. Sorry, that's a little dig, but copy and paste. Chris Wilder is set to leave Sheffield United amicably, as they're now expected to part ways, as per John Percy in the Telegraph. Wilder's disappointed, but respects the ownership group, want their own coach, and he will always leave the door open as Sheffield man. Yeah, so no hard feelings by the sound of it. I know you're going to say that, aren't you? But I genuinely don't think there's been a fallout here. Jack says, we need a manager who's done it in the Prem for this to make sense, in my opinion. Pilot says, Ruben Sellers. Oh, for God's sake. Well done, Jimmy. Thank you, Max. Not sure what for, mate, but I appreciate it. Relieved it's not Gary O'Neill, says Josh. There are only a few managers that recently became available. Ange, too big a name. Carrick, no thanks. Sellers are the main ones I can think of. Can't see Ange. So probably Carrick or Sellers. I'm not blown away by Carrick. It wouldn't surprise me if he comes into the mix, but I think everything's pointing towards Ruben Sellers at the minute. Nigel says, hi, Jim. Not many managers know the Championship like Wilder. Someone is going to be starting from scratch. Ruben Sellers and Gary O'Neill make me feel sick, says Hyder. Walter says, good luck beating James English or Sean Atwood on that one. Don't know what you're on about. Toddy says, the head loss from some fans is actually embarrassing. We all love Wilder, but Sheffield United is number one, not Wilder. He would be first to say that as well, Toddy, wouldn't he, to be fair. Aragorn says, hey, Jim, Leeds fan here. I think this could be a mistake. Wilder has arguably had a more disruptive summer than Leeds the season we went down, or at least very similar, and he did a great job. Needs players that will fit his system, like Farker, and you would have been top two. He played a system that didn't fit the players we had. So, and I always think you should, and that's just my opinion, but I always think you should play a system that suits the players you have got, rather than a system that you want to play and try and fit the players in around it. So why we were trying to play with wingers when we didn't have legit wingers in the squad will always baffle me. We are a 3-5-2 squad at the moment. And I think a new manager will have a chance to change that in the summer, but at the moment, that's what suits us best. Steve says, Leeds fan here, mentally sacking Wilder. I struggle to think of anyone who gets 92 points with a bang average squad, plus the likes of Hamer, Anel, and Arblaster. I don't think it's a bang average squad, but I don't think we reached our potential. It's probably fair to say, and there are holes in the squad, but it's a top squad for the division. It's certainly a top 3 or 4 squad for the division, in my opinion. Steve P&J Torian says, morning Jimmy. It's a shame that the owners have their feet. But as you said, it's business. Hope this doesn't upset your team's pre-season. Good luck with this season. Thank you, P&J. Much appreciated, pal. Good teams require stability, says Aragon. Jack says it's big club mentality, that's for sure. 92 points is amazing. That's not good enough for the new owners. If we see this type of mentality with a statement manager and players, let's hope. Joe says, hey up, Jim. Not been on for a bit. Just wanted to say thanks to those who hounded the prince out of the club and never gave him any credit for out. I always said, be careful what you wish for. Danny says, with the football he plays, I don't think it'll be Daesh, as it's. I don't think it'll be Daesh, as he's close to Wilder and will know the ins and outs. O'Neill already seems to be ruled out, so it wouldn't surprise me if it's Cooper, which is a step forward. Okay. Michael says Steve Cooper would be an ideal choice. He's taken Forest up through the playoffs, a side that was worth 12 million quid to the Premier League. He's also managed Brewster when he was a coach of the under-19 team. I don't think Brewster will be with us next season. I'll be surprised. But that might change if Steve Cooper's coming in and wants to make him. But I haven't seen strong links to Steve Cooper, just idle links, because he's that sort of level manager. He's a top championship manager, isn't he? Feel sorry for Wilder, but that's football today. Cruel sport when things don't happen, but very rewarding when things do. Just need to see some players coming in of quality and need to know the future of current players at the club. I thought Newcastle's owners sacked Steve Bruce for Eddie Howe. Did they? They might have done. I might have got that wrong then. Yeah, maybe I did. Get your point, Jimmy, but one of the first things Saudis did was sack Bruce. Okay, right, I might have got that wrong. Fantastic. Let's bring in a Bulgarian manager since we love that league so much. Just hope this big call doesn't stop progress, says Danny. 2 owners employed how? All right. Yeah, I get it. All right, Jimmy. Is the podcast nomination for the gritty docu-soap YouTuber? Yeah, somebody's just messaged me actually and asked for the link again. So thank you to Claire who's let me know about this. We've been nominated for the British Podcast Awards, and I've only just found out about it as we're on air. So it's BritishPodcastAwards.com. And to vote, share your vote via social media channels and tag us. That's at British Podcast Awards. Use the hashtag British Podcast Awards and tag the podcast you've voted for. And Claire has kindly voted for the Ramble, something I didn't even know we were involved in. So thank you to Claire for that. Preston's asking, how do I join the Platinum Ramble? All the details are in the description below, pal. So you just follow the link in the description, and hopefully you'll enjoy some of the benefits. It's quite an active group at the moment. Wilder's dismissal will officially be announced at the same time as the appointment of the new manager, says Joe. I would expect that too. AI, no. Ours, says Paul. Real stupidity, in my opinion. The Messiah is on his way, but will always be revered at the lane. Up the blades, up all the rambles, like and subscribe. Thank you, Paul. 110%. There is no mutual in this. Yeah, obviously one party makes the decision. I don't think it's mutual consent. I think it is a sacking, but I think it's amicable. It's basically said that Wilder's upset. I think that what Romano said is he's upset. He's disappointed. So it's clearly not his decision, but respects the ownership group, want their own coach, and he'll always leave the door open. Nigel says, I think Wilder should have had another season. It's a big ask for a new man to come in and guarantee promotion. It's huge ask. Huge ask. Cooler King says, through all this, I don't think any journals have suggested Wilder's being sacked because the owners think he's rubbish. I really believe it's because they want to take the club down a different path. Completely agree. Because you can't do it on performance, can you? You can't do that on performance, which is why we've, as much as some fans would like a Sean Dyche or that sort of ilk of manager to come in who's experienced and done it, and he's probably the most likely to be similar to Wilder. That's probably why he's not in the conversation. That's probably why it's a Ruben Sellers or somebody else who's been a head coach that would come in. I think Gary O'Neill were a head coach, weren't he, at Bournemouth? So perhaps that's the thought process. Will says, feeling worse than the first time. Not going to lie, it's pretty infuriating. I'm pretty speechless as to how this has turned out. I feel like something that Tottenham would do. I'm sorry to hear you're struggling with it, pal. It's going to hit people in different ways. Dad says they weren't going to sack Wilder at Christmas mid-season. That could have derailed us completely. It doesn't matter if the new manager gets 93 points. It's if we get promoted. Nothing else matters. Is this confirmed yet, says Renegade? I feel we're not being given any information by the club. Zero clarity from the club. They're obviously working things out in terms of probably the admin side of it, if we're honest, Renegade. So that's nothing's going to be announced until it's all formalised. What's the difference in terms of Danny Role? I assume you mean we had Danny Wilson and we've signed players from the Pigs. I think there's a difference to come direct from, and I think a player you can he's sort of can drift into the pack a little bit, like a Del Ghirio did it, and Lee Bromby did it, Alan Quinn did it. The manager is the head of the football club, essentially, isn't he? He's like the what's the word I'm looking for? But he's the at the forefront of the football club. So I think it's too big for Danny Role to jump into. This is a bad decision. Who's going to get? Oh, by the way, he wants it. He definitely wants it, Danny Role, just to infuriate the blue side. He 100% wants to be Sheffield United manager. This is a bad decision. Who's going to get 90 plus points? If I had to pick someone, I'd go for Cooper. Says Shawnee. I wouldn't roll out Rule because of who he manages. He's desperate to get out, and it would be the ultimate middle finger to Chansiri and to Wilder. Yeah, but we don't want to give the middle finger to Wilder, do we? That's another reason I don't think it'd happen. I think it would be seen as slightly disrespectful to Chris Wilder to appoint Danny Role, somebody who we had a little bit of beef with. I don't think that'd be a game changer and stop it happening, but I still don't think it'd be great, personally. Key says, excited for the Premier League fixtures, Jimmy. Speaking of middle fingers, Dino says, I'm not having it. It can't have Danny Role. I'd have him all day. Good manager, says Dino. Geary, Bromby, Quinney, and Wilson, all ex-Porkers. They were brilliant. It's not. It doesn't. Oh, thank you to Preston, who's just signed up to be a Platinum Rambler. Yeah, there have been people cross the divide, but I think Role's it's too hot at the minute. If he went somewhere in between, or obviously managed somewhere else, he's an ideal candidate, really. But yes, the board can do whatever, but they need to integrate themselves into the city and the culture, or they'll end up losing the majority of the support. Time will tell. I agree to a degree, Gary. That's idealistic, I think, if they do that. Ultimately, what they want is successful football, a successful football club on the pitch, and that will overwrite everything, won't it? If we get into the Premier League and then we survive in the Premier League, nobody will be talking about why did they sack Chris Wilder 2 years ago. Anyone fancy taking shoes off in car park, says JP. Porkies would be devastated if he came. Lee says, good morning, Jimmy. Hope all is well. For the board to be sacking Wilder after just missing out on promotion shows they're not for messing about. They must have someone lined up. They certainly will have, mate. They certainly will have. I think that's been the delay. Maury says, who knows if we got promoted, they may have done the same. But I think they've been interviewing some candidates like Sellers or O'Neill. Either of the two is good enough for me. If it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me. And if you don't like my singing, then subscribe and I'll stop. Thank you. Losing, well, I won't. Probably won't. Apologies. John says, losing 3 very winnable games in a row at crunch time sealed his fate. It got predictable and a bit boring watching United as well. Time for a change. Jamie Dumpling says, I'm beyond angry. He's not just angry. He is beyond angry. League One again. Ole, ole. In the words of the happiest man in the world, David Webster, clueless. Massive overreaction from Jamie Dumpling. Wouldn't expect anything different. Unbelievable. Jack says, the only thing I can think of why it's positive is because on the pitch, a lot has been missing tactically and the playing style. and off the pitch in terms of discipline, I don't think has been, well, it hasn't been great. Could have got at least till October, November time, says JP. 5-1 for Rob Edwards, I assume. Relegation battle this season, I'm afraid, says a McBlade, AMC Blade. Can we sign some players now? I was expecting a fun window. That will come, mate. Don't you worry. Rob Dorset now reporting Rob Edwards in advanced talks to become the new Middlesbrough head coach. Reckon a few leave after this news? Nah. I think I'm expecting to lose probably two that we would choose to keep. And I don't think Hamer's one of them. Leeds kept with Farker after last season, says Jim, to keep stability, and it paid off. Blades chose instability again. Points over performances any day of the week. Agree with that, Ollie. How many successful managers play exciting football? Yeah, I'm not saying it's the right choice in that regard. We've just got to try and give all arguments, haven't we? 1,800 people here. If you're not already subscribed, please do. What are we on now? All right, we are 76 away from 8,500. We're trying to get to 10k before kickoff's underway, or whatever it was that the tagline were going to be. So, yeah, if you could support us in that, that'd be much appreciated. Sam says on Facebook, which I've daftly chosen to read out because I'm only going to be reading YouTube comments, but you're up, so I'll read it, pal. Southgate, Ange, Brendan Rodgers, or the like must be on the new owner's appointment list. Southgate, no, too high. Not the likes of Sellers or Neil Cooper Dyche. If they're going to upset the majority of Blades, it needs to be an experienced manager, not a make-do replacement. Okay. Looks like it's Sheffield United FC versus Wilder FC all over Twitter. Some horrid and toxic days ahead. We support Sheffield United, don't we? Again, you don't get many Sheffield United, bigger Chris Wilder fans than me, but we are Sheffield United fans, first and foremost, always. The most important thing that comes to it when we talk about football is our club. To be fair, Sellers has coaching experience in Greece, Russia, Azerbaijan, Denmark, and Spain, as well as England, says Michael. He has a master's degree in sports and psychology. Sports and physiology. So he's got a wife. Enough experience. Okay. Up the ramble, up the blades. Maury says, like I was saying on the watch along, Sellers had a good style of play against us. He's got tactics right, and I love his 4-3-3 attacking formation. Wayno says, not just Wilder, Nilly and the backroom staff will also get the boot. All this uncertainty is doing nobody any good. Jez says, unpopular opinion, but Wilder made too many tactical and strategic errors, particularly the failure to push on after the January window. His signings didn't deliver enough. You're not alone in that opinion, Jez. You're probably not alone, but you're one of the few that will vocalize it at this sort of time. But yeah, it might be an unpopular opinion at the moment, but I think it's a sensible one. Whether I agree with it wholeheartedly or not is maybe different, but fair play to you for saying it, pal. The fact that Oxford at home is a standout says it all. Bloody Oxford. We were very, very good that game, but we're also very good against Coventry and Middlesbrough, two good teams. Steve Hume says Wilder was always going to be short-term. Better to change now rather than mid-season. Be thankful to Chris for the good times, but time to move on. That's a good point, Steve. Why would you give Wilder until October, November if you're not sure about him, or until Christmas if you're not sure about him? Because he's then going to have the summer in front of him, isn't he, to recruit in his image. And if the club's image isn't aligned with what Chris Wilder's image is, like, say, journeyman championship top-end players like Bembra and Diaz, like, I don't know, Jack Robinson, dare we say it, but if he's got a certain player in his mind and the board doesn't align with it, why would you let him bring in 10 of those players? Probably quite expensive as well. And then say, having back in your mind, well, we'll change it if it don't go right. Why not change it now, straight away, and back a new man, whether it's Sellers or Neil, Dyche, you're a senior, whoever it is, but back that man and their image. Get Gilchrist back, says Jack. Oxford away, says Walt. Yeah, getting back should have never been dropped, says Jack. Fabrizio just announced Gilchrist will leave Chelsea permanently, says Max. Olivier Giroud and Ben Bloom. Yes, yes, Maury. I'll be joining as ever. AMC Blade says it's one of the most embarrassing moments in the club's history, and we've got fans asking for sausage roll just to wind up the pigs. I wish we could get rid of fans just as easily as the managers. You know, it's people handle it in different ways, pal. While they're going, maybe opens the door for a Rob Holding return. There are some silver linings to it, aren't there, in that regard? And I would rather have Wilder in charge and no Rob Holding. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted, as some people say. But Wilder going, probably we would write off a return for Rob Holding right now. We would write off a return for Alfie Gilchrist. But I think they both did a good job last season for us. Alfie Gilchrist, I think, rightly came out of the team. And I think his fitness is a concern. But if you get those right, I think there was a good, solid championship defender in there. Rob Holding, I think, were a class above whenever he was on the pitch. And it baffles me to this day why he wasn't playing more games. Shocking decision by the board, says David. Get the Yanks out. Wow. Mitchell says, be careful what you wish for, Blades. I think that's a fair thing to say. Matt says, whoever comes in deserves a full backing and support from the fans next season. I think they'll get it. It just hurts because a lot of us love Wilder. Regardless of your opinion on it, on whether it was the right or wrong decision, time will tell anyway. Sean says, we don't need to get 92 points. We just need promotion. This board only make money if we are Premier League. Completely agree. Maury says, anyway, nice jumping on. I'll catch up with this live soon. Up the Ramble, up all the Rambles, like and subscribe. Thank you, Maury, who joined us for his entire lunch break. Much appreciated. Michael says, if there is one loan the Blades should keep, it's Hamza. He did well at right back and more so in midfield when he played there. I would say other way around. I think he did better at right back than he did in midfield, but I wouldn't be against Hamza coming in. It would have to be for the right price for me. Alex says, can't lose that playoff final and not get sacked. Should have never lost. Can talk about points total, but we took 0 off the top 2 above us. Yeah, they took 12 points off us, and that's what ultimately was the difference. If we'd have taken, we finished 10 points behind them. If you take 6 points off Burnley and put them on Sheffield United's total, that's a 12-point swing. Same with Leeds. So if we'd have beaten Burnley twice, we'd have gone up with Leeds. If we'd have beaten Leeds twice, we'd have gone up with Burnley. But it was the other way around. They beat us. 4 losses to the top 2. Said it first, Jimmy, get Leroy in. You did. Hamza would be my first signing, says Gaza. Dave says it's all about money, though. If we double a manager's wage, most of them are coming. It is all about money. Absolutely. Who are you thinking, though, Dave? Who are you thinking, pal? Cooper or Dash for me, both have proven themselves, says Mac. Rossini is in the Chelsea group, so he could go to them eventually. That'd be a ridiculous jump, though, wouldn't it? Ridiculous jump, Jim. You're right. He's in that Chelsea club group. And I think that was part of his thinking, taking that job. If I was Brentford, I'd take Rossini over Andrews. I'm not sure they will take that risk, though, Luke. I say a risk. Keith Andrews would be a huge risk, wouldn't it? This is nothing that Eki didn't experience, in my opinion. Wilder was already in before Eki got the sack. Completely agree, Jack. Something we've touched on before. Lofts, this is the first one I'm going to read of yours because it's the first sensible comment I've seen. This will either be a win or bust for the Blades, I'm afraid. No in between. You'll either go up or down. Buddy's Blade says, playoff final and the week from hell did it for Wilder. We shouldn't have lost any of those matches, let alone all of them. Those losses alone would have put the frighteners on the owners. Probably. Gaza says, to be honest, even if they won at Wembley, I still think they would have got rid of Wilder. Just hope these new owners do what a lot of overseas owners have done and use us as a cash... these new owners do what a lot of overseas owners have done and use us as a... Don't use us as a cash cow. Yeah, don't use us as a cash cow. Yeah, sorry, Gaza's clarified it there. Sorry, it took me about 3 attempts because of typo. Jimmy joined 10 minutes ago. Who would your choice be? You'd have to go back, pal. I'm trying to get through all comments. There's loads. I think it's most likely to be Sellers now, just based off reports. Can't confirm it because apparently Gary O'Neill's out of the race. Just thought I'd leave my thoughts, says Mark Meldrew. Disappointed, but got to accept it. Nothing we can do now. It's done. If it is Sellers, we have to back him, whatever, and get behind the lads for another go at promotion. Well said, Mark Meldrew. Guys, nothing has been thrown away. Wilder's work will still be here, just without him. Michael says, despite Sheffield United not gaining promotion, I thought that Wilder would last longer than Daniel Farker and Scott Parker. Me too. Mark Meldrew says, can see why the decision has been made. Also, aim was to get promoted and it hasn't happened. Clearly a ruthless bunch, these new owners. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, up the positive Mel Drew. Marco has had some time to reflect after being pretty upset by it. Look where he is now. I think that'll happen to a lot of Blades, to be honest. Tom says, AI modeling could be an amazing tool, but that's all it should ever be. Software can't be held accountable and therefore shouldn't make final decisions. Hope the owners bear this in mind. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Should have stuck with Wilder. What a shame, says Paul. Carrick would be a good appointment, says Josh. I think he showed a lot of early promise, but I'm not convinced. He's just been sacked by Burrante. You could argue that Sellers has been sacked by Hull as well. Is he the ideal appointment? Some people will probably say no. Matt says we rolled the dice and this one goes one of two ways. Let's hope it's onwards and upwards with some exciting attacking football. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Wilder has shown this season that tactically isn't good enough, says Alex. Leeds fan here, love the channels you make. What about Carrick? Not for me, Josh. Thank you for your kind words, though. Carrick, no thanks, says Walt. My only worry is the transfer window. We've had a slow start again. We have, but you'd rather... The manager is the most important person at a football club, and I'd rather have the right manager in, even if it's late, than rushing to get signings in who he doesn't want. It did work out the last time he went. Eki took us back up, and then the Prince got us relegated. Oh, here we go. James says, good morning, Jimmy. What the hell is going on? Are we going down the same road as the Piggies with their owners? I don't think so, pal. CW hasn't had a season with a full squad. Last season was building ground for what's to come. Up the Ramble. Thank you, mate. Renegade says it's all... I think it's the average image, overall image of the club they want to change. Wilder this time didn't produce nice football. That paired with this off-the-field attitude cost the club in plenty of fines. Owen Funk says you can separate Wilder into two parts. First version, Blades legend, tactically astute, overlapping centre-backs, great with the media and fans. Second version, percentage football, which was boring. Carried by top players in Hamer, it became much more divisive, wanting to fight everyone anymore, in my opinion. We may have got 90 points, but that was a freak. So many games we exceeded the performance through variance, in my opinion. Dave says, Botdev, Plovdiv on the brink of bankruptcy unless 2.7 million euros are raised. News on the 13th of June. Interesting. Ben says, not sure how I feel about this. Oh, I don't like that, Dave. Don't like that at all. Not sure how I feel about this news. I just hope the board make the right decision, as it could get nasty if the new manager doesn't get the right results. Seen on Instagram, Wilder has been sacked, says Swifty. Renegade says, I think we have to look forward and not backwards. We don't know what's going on, what's going to happen, but I'll be a blade and back whoever leads us and pulls on the shirt. Suter's back on the grass. Will he be an option? Is he back on the grass, Joe? If he's back on the grass, he's got to be an option. But did he come for Wilder? I just think he loved the club. We loved him anyway, didn't we? Was talking to my brother-in-law and we can't think of an obvious replacement, says Jim. Yeah, changing my name to new manager's number one hater. Whoever it is, we will back him and trust we can take us up. The club is in our blood. CW is in our hearts. Well said, David. David Oxley says, we're done. This board haven't got a clue. This AI won't work either. Chris says, morning, Jim. Shocking decision by the board, but I think it has more to do with some of the strange team tactics and subs last season. Lost against all the top sides. Whoever we do get, back them up the Blades. For the podcast nomination, pal. Oh, yes, congrats. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Matthew says, who's finished higher in the Prem than Wilder? All this talk of needing Prem experience. We had it. Yeah, we did, to be fair. As a Leeds fan, we kept Farker after we lost the playoffs and it paid off for you. You should have kept him. Matt says, do we think this is an opportunistic move? Maybe hadn't planned to replace him, but a manager such as Sellers becomes available. So they bit the bullet, as it were, similar to the Cannon signing. Possibly, Matt. Would you say Cannon signings worked out? But yeah, if they want, for example, if you're mentioning Sellers there, if they want Sellers, there's a chance he's in a job at Christmas in there somewhere else. It might be the Middlesbrough manager. It might be the Wednesday manager. So then he's harder to get in if he's their man. If they've got their eyes on, it might not be we don't want Wilder. It might be we want this man more. And that might be what's been going on. Michael says, if things go to plan this time next season, United will be one of those teams celebrating promotion, while 3 promoted teams would have been relegated with the Blades in the ascendancy. P&J says, afternoon, Jimmy. Are you now nervous for this season? No matter who you get as a manager, whoever it is, needs to gel with the team and players. I'm trying to be optimistic, pal, at the minute. It's very hard to have an opinion on the season before knowing who's going to lead you. So, yeah, I've had a little bit of time to get used to this news, but now we're going to wait and see what happens. I'm starting to get a little bit more, not optimistic, because I think Chris Wilder would have been the best choice. But I think you've got to look forward, haven't you, and see what's around the corner. Sad day, gutted for Chris, hoping it's Cooper who takes over, says Brad. Paul says, if the results bomb with a new manager, will the board resign? No. I'd be surprised if they knew anything of significance about football. It's I suppose it's down to who they're being advised by as well, isn't it? Because, you can't expect them to be, huge Sheffield United fans and studying the analytics of the Championship and the Premier League. But you've got to get the right people on board to advise you as well. Wilder won't get another job in the Champ. He's going down a division, says Paul. I disagree. I think the job he's done with us this season has rebuilt his reputation, and rightly so. He's done that himself, and I think he won't struggle for a Championship job. I'd like Steve Cooper, says Jack. I won't be surprised, you mentioned it the other day, but I won't be surprised if Wrexham get off to a bit of a dodgy start. I can see him going to Disney FC. He'll hate all the documentary type stuff, but they'll pay him well, and he might see it as an interesting project. Wilder got sacked first time. We got promoted in 2 seasons. So, yes, it did work out the last time he went, although the Prince did wanted to stay, even if we got relegated. No man is bigger than Sheffield United. Can't wait until we start this season with a full Bulgarian side, says Brad. Seles is 5-1 on. 5-1 on. Who's that with, Sean? Who's that with? Because that is nailed on, isn't it? That is nailed on. Alex Burton says, know someone who works at the club. Wilder just picked things up, dropped off a company car and jumped in the wife's car before leaving. I'm gutted, but we move on. Hopefully an exciting summer of transfers ahead. Michael says, what happens to the prize assets if Wilder goes then to Hamer, Sousa and Arblaster? What must they be thinking when they've played their best football under Wilder? Will they want to stay under a new manager? Have they played the best football under Wilder? Sousa, yes. Arblaster, yeah, probably. The short time that he's had. Arblaster's obviously linked to Wilder. I think Vinny's likely to go just because of the value he holds. But I don't think people will pay the money we want for Hamer. And I think Arblaster will give us another season because of the injury. That Bulgarian Blade lass certainly knows the stuff with all these signings. She's advising the club to get. Shout out to Claire, the Bulgarian Blade. The new owners did say they wanted to invest for the future. Danny rolls 10-1. Sellers is now 8-1 on. O'Neill drifted out to 8s. Daesh at 10s. Francesco Farioli. Oh, that at 16. Somebody mentioned him actually in the comments that they'd like him. This decision hurts, but for me, they're holding Wilder accountable for the January window. They did back him, says Luke. He was offered Cannon. He was offered Cannon and took him because you would take him, wouldn't you? You would take a championship shot, but he hasn't said go and spend 10 million quid on him. The board offered him that deal, from what I understand. Again, I might get mixed reports on that if I do enough digging. Why we want that sausage? Wilder slapped him twice, says Jack. Philip says, I might be wrong, Jimmy, but I'm sure the new owners picked Eddie Howe. They did, pal. I was wrong with that. Apologies. I secretly would love Roll, says Brad. You won't be alone in that. I don't. Hey up, pal. Going to miss you and Connor next season. I think you should change sides. We'll adopt you as a white top bloke and top content. All leads, aren't we? Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, James. I'm still chatting to Connor about some stuff that we'll do next season. Both schedules are getting pretty full because we're both all in on this. We're both really trying to grow our channels respectively. I'm a huge fan of him and his work. He's a good pal of mine. And if we can work together on a regular basis, then I'm sure we'd love to. So we'll see. We'll see. It's not over yet. It's not over, not over, no. Rico says, if Wilder gets sacked, I'm boycotting Bramall Lane. 92 points and a double over Wendy's gets sacked. That's scandalous. Owner's out. Next manager just there for a payday. Wilder is a blade. I've no doubt that's how you feel now, Rico. I hope you feel slightly differently come kick off. Excuse me. Dave Morwood says, have we had Agent Wilson, Agent Hecky, but Agent Roll? No, not again after a loss. Yeah, that's true. Tom says, I feel like everyone has forgot how many times we've scraped matches, playing terrible. Also forgetting he tried to play 5 at the back against Leeds, but when we went for it at home, we almost got the job done. So Tom can see merit to the decision. We were beaten by VAR in the playoff final. VAR or whether the ref had called it in real time, Pete, it's the right decision, I think. You can argue about that all day long, and that's a different conversation. But we had one of our Ramblers is a ref, a professional ref, and he came on and explained the decision to us, and ultimately it was right, whether we like it or not. So yeah, VAR did beat us in the final, but we were still 1-0 up when that decision was made, by the way, and could have seen the game out, and we didn't. Don't think his off-field antics helped him, i.e. Danny Roll, or the way he behaved at the end of the Plymouth game. Sally's 8-1 on to be the next boss. Angie's 25-1. Sing off, Jimmy versus City. I'll take him on any day of the week. Old Valerie Peck, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. If he wants to come on and have a rap battle, we'll do that. Peck and Sousa, in my opinion, or Burrows will go. I don't think Burrows will go. I think they'll be interesting, Peck. Just me that wants him to stay. No, Josh, not just you, pal. 10k by kickoff day, says Dublin Blade. Not a fan of Sellers, but I'll get behind whoever walks in as manager, says Brad. Me too. Don't think people will want Wilder in if he didn't support the club or was a Yorkshire lad. If he was a foreign manager, more people would want him gone. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Tom. But he is a Blade, isn't he? It would be more expendable probably to some. But even then, he's got 92 points. So, way up. I'm just trying to cross my legs and kick my camera out at the same time. Andy says, it's a shame, but we've got to get behind the new owners and manager and give them the team Eve. Key says, cheers for everything, Chris. Let's back whoever comes in. Josh says, I think from watching last season, we played not to lose rather than to win. That was my takeaway from the season. Is it confirmed, says Benjamin Baboon? No, mate, not yet. It's almost, it's as good as confirmed that he's due to be sacked. Is he actually getting the sack? Yes, everything points towards that now, Brad. Points are more important. However, when you are at a final with playing style that drops after 65 minutes, that's an issue. Why would he get sacked? Learn from us, Leeds. We kept Farker and went up. Check the Blazeman tweet on what Alex Crook has just said on TalkSport. Jimmy, let's have a quick look. If I can't get it up quickly, I'm going to have to abandon it, pal. But because we are live. We are live. Let's have a look. Where's Crookie? Alex. Can't type now. Alex Crook. What's he saying about Chrissy Wilder? Is that just the Ruben Sellers one? Among the contenders for Sheffield United. Yeah, we'd read that, Max. Thank you for letting me know, though, pal. Smells like they want a big name. John Terry, hide your wives. It doesn't smell like they want a big name. I was worried that they would go for a big name. You mentioned John Terry. I mentioned Steven Gerrard. I don't want that type of manager in who's been a brilliant player but not done anything as a manager. Hamza's a small club signing. Mark says, hey, Jim, as a Leeds fan, I'm so glad we kept Farker after last season. Who would have got more points than him? Same with Wilder. If we're all being honest, Wilder just simply doesn't deserve the disrespect he's getting. Okay. Sorry, it's the Bladesman that's reported on what Alex Crook said. Max has just sent me now. So Alex, the Bladesman, who is our aggregator on X. So if nobody is, if you're on X and you're a Blade, if you're not following the Bladesman, you're missing a trick because he pulls all the news together and reports on it on X. So that's a really good source. And he has just basically verbatim copied what Alex Crook has said on TalkSport. So Alex Crook has said, I've just had a message from someone very close to Chris Wilder suggesting there hasn't been a fallout. Maybe there's a clash of ideals because we know that the new owners want to use AI as a scouting tool. Chris Wilder more old school, but there hasn't been a bust up, so maybe he's a little bit surprised. In terms of potential replacements, Gary O'Neill was the name that I was being told by a lot of different sources last week. That's been dampened down to me a bit this morning, so I don't know if O'Neill maybe has gone cold on the idea. Ruben Sellers, sacked by Hull, having kept them up at the end of the season, is a contender, I'm told, so we'll keep an eye on that. There we go. Josh says, I think I've read this one. He doesn't deserve the disrespect he's getting. Do you mean from the fan base or the club? Nath says, does this mean no Jimmy Dunn now then? Was hoping to see him at the Lane this season. It may do, Nath. It may do. We all know that it was almost a done deal. But this is why whenever we're reporting stuff like that, we all know that it's been wrapped up for ages. And it might still happen. I hope it does because it'd be a really good signing for us. But it's never done until it's signed off, is it? Jace says, if a new manager doesn't start well, the crowd will eventually turn against the manager and the board. Cooler King says, given that Wilder did such a good job rebuilding last season, and given the quality of managers you're now linked with, I don't think there's any reason to believe you'll get relegated. I don't think we'll be anywhere near, to be honest. Andy says, Chris has gone and it's a shame. Personally, I think he's gone as far as he can with us. Now it's time to get behind the new manager and the team, give them our full support and see how far we can go. Well said, mate. Pro Brad says, I just hope this changeover happens quickly and doesn't drag on like the takeover did. I think it's going to be an immediate switch. I think the announcement we're waiting for is not only that Chris Wilder's left the club, but here is your new manager. Christ, Sellers, what a gamble if so, says Mogger. Wilder, guaranteed top 4. Sellers could be sacked by November. Chris says, my biggest worry is that our new owners will sneak an American manager in through the back door, up the blades, up the Ramble. I don't think so. 90 points and halfway through the rebuild gets you the sack. Crazy times. I'll be back. I'll back the manager wherever it is, but good luck to Chris in the future, says Andy. Well said, mate. L-Dog says, for me, we should be going for Cifuentes at QPR. I think that'd be a solid pick as well. If Suter doesn't get injured or VAR didn't play up, we go up. Neither are Wilder's fault. VAR didn't play up, did it? VAR gave the decision. But you're right. There are intangibles there that it's a change in direct. It's sliding doors moments, isn't it? Robbie says he was gone as soon as he realised half the board wanted a change. You can't work knowing half your employers don't want you. Michael says Jimmy Leeds took 12 points off Ipswich and Leicester City, but they didn't get promotion. The reversal is that Leeds and Burnley took 12 points from the Blades. Had the Blades won those 3 matches, who knows? Had the Blades won 2 of those, we'd be up. 5-1 on, says Phil. For Sellers. Just saying on Instagram, Suter's running on the grass. That's good. But Arblast has been running for a long time as well, hasn't he? So, and that he's not ready yet. Jed says, shocking decision after all he's done from when we last came down to the Premier League. People forget. Lee says, what would you rather do? Watch my team? What would you rather do? Watch my team, Bristol City, who play nice football, win some, lose some, or Wilder style, which might not be the prettiest, but so effective in the champ. Ultimately, you want winning football, don't you? Ultimately, you want winning football. If we'd have gone up, then I wouldn't have been saying, I wish I'd have done what Liam Manning did at Bristol City. So I think pretty football is a desire rather than an essential. That's funny. Chris Wilder's in Portugal. I don't think he is. Is he? Still? Odds on TalkSport. Betting site. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. A good friend of mine is a Hull fan. He went to see them lot last season. He said Sellers was dreadful with him at the helm. He said a couple of good games, but that was it. Interesting. Home Funk says the weirdest thing in all of this is who the media guy to tweet all the McBurney videos. Who told the media to tweet all those? Does Wilder have the social media passwords? Sellers has a 36% win ratio as a manager. Rate upgrade, says Scott. Imagine Sunday roast in the Wilder house. So how's it going, Blaster? Can you imagine if Wilder rocked up at Leicester? I don't want to imagine that. He's utter poo, Sellers. He certainly wouldn't be my choice, says Walter. Matt says, if we don't do well this season, the board will get a massive amount of stick, and rightly so. It could show huge ambition, only time will tell. Hopefully we don't become another Watford, up the Blades, up the Ramble. Matt, you're right. They will get loads of stick if it doesn't go well. But Will they also get loads of credit if it does? They should, shouldn't they? So they are sticking their neck out. They're not doing it for the adulation or the popularity contest, are they? Clearly. But we should, if it does go well, we should be backing him as well as slating him as soon as it goes wrong. Watch Adrian Heath's team I watched Adrian Heath's team so I can take out, says Dino. Hey, I know that lad at Plymouth, and in Wilder's defence, they did get relegated, and he is fat. That lad at Plymouth. I don't know where I've lost there. I'm nearly at the end of the comments, which is what I've been racing to get through. We're at nearly 2 hours, nearly 2,000 people here. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do us a massive favour. Even if you're watching on X, come over, give us a quick subscribe before we go if you enjoy the content. On the plus side, however, says Matt, Homefunk says Bulgarian blob who works in the pizza shop down London Road is now evens. Nice. Black Rose says time to move on. Nothing lasts forever. Otherwise, this guy will be in charge forever. Tim Walker says, hi, Jimmy. I'm waiting until if I know if the structure is changing. Director and football with a head coach, then maybe fine. Another manager, then why? Up the Ramble, up the Blades. Thank you, pal. Hope you're doing well. I'd like to see Daesh, but can we afford them? Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Yeah, we definitely can afford him. And I think he would come, but I don't think it's in their mindset. Middledale says, what a downgrade. Just screams sacked by Christmas. Players would have wanted to stay and play for him, but now we're unprepared and we'll lose our best players. Don't agree, if I'm honest. I don't think we'll lose our best players. Sack Wilder and I'll go watch Barnsley, says Jeff. Oh, don't be following Callum Fowler. Bloody hell. His best mate said he's back at home now. Is that Wick? Premier League, here we come. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, says Wilder's #1 hater. Got your wish, pal. Got your wish. Alex V says, if we're in the Prem, Wilder wouldn't be the man for the job, in my opinion. So it makes sense to try and find someone who could take us up and then progress us now. What's your dad's opinion on it, Jim? I'll not reveal at the moment. I'll not reveal. I will get him on for the next Talking Sense. He's now got a weekly show with us. A monthly show, sorry, with us. I haven't worked out when the next one is yet. Chances are he'll be abroad. So I'll be getting him on and you can hear his full thoughts on it. Sellers thinks Slavica Jokanovic. I think it's a very similar appointment. Ruud van Nistelrooy says, Bry. Okay, so supporters don't have to be in the loop, but no supporters, no club. The punters have every right to common courtesy if the hierarchy want to keep them on side. I think that's fair, Gary, but we can't expect to be in the loop, can we, as much as we'd like to be. King says, don't worry. If things go wrong, you can watch Leeds in the Prem. Love you, Jim. I'll tut at that. Litana says, so it's official. Ridiculous. He made a mess of the playoff final, but the rest of the season, you have to give it to him. Yeah, you do. I know, mate. I knew what you meant, Gaz. Don't worry. Why do you think the players are more likely to stay? They're loved. I don't think they're more likely to stay. I don't think they're any more likely to go because Wilder goes. I think he contracted to the club rather than the manager. So I don't think, oh, well, now that Wilder's going, they'll all stay. I didn't think we'd lose many in the first place. I think we maybe lose 1 or 2, which is what I've said throughout. 3, an absolute push, but I think it'll be up to 2 that we maybe don't want to lose. I think Sidney Peck's well thought of. I think Vinny Souza's well regarded throughout Europe. And Nell's in the last year of his contract. It could be any of those 3. I think Gus stays. I've just got a feeling Gus stays. Gary O'Neill would be a good move, says Stephen. Renegade says, I think whatever happens, the board or owners need to own this decision. I feel like this news has dragged on far too long now, regardless whether we have a new manager ready or not. And 8 says, just had this terrible feeling that the American owners would think that Gareth Southgate is a good idea. I don't think we'll bring in Gareth Southgate, pal. 2,000 people here. If you're not already subscribed, please do. I am going to wrap it up there. Maybe get 1 or 2 comments in if they come in now. Just to let you know what we've got coming up on the channel. We'll be back here live. It won't be me, but we'll be back here live at 8 o'clock for a view from the blooming mountain. I keep getting that wrong. A view from the blooming mountain. That's a clever play on words for those that haven't picked up on it, because Benjamin Bloom will be joining our boy, Man Mountain. Look at that smoky look in his eyes. What a guy. Housewife's favourite for a reason. Is this the right move? And that was a title that I put on it last night, just, because we didn't know where we'd be up to today. And it's proving to be around the right sort of gauge, because we now know what we think is going to happen. And then tomorrow, caught in the middle, we're back to squad business. how are the midfield set? Myself and Dave the Nose will be talking through it, trying to talk some sense as we continue our squad build videos. Okay, so let's see what rest of the comments we've got before we leave. And then it's time for modern football in Sheffield, says King. Craig says football is bonkers. Other than fix your playoff voodoo, what could Wilder have done more? And I'm a Leeds fan. A lot of Blades will say the same, pal. Don't cry, it's over. Smile because it happened, said Beast Boy. I'll say the same to you, pal, when Ryan Brewster leaves. Cheers, Jimmy. See you with Bloomers. You won't see me, pal. You'll see the Man Mountain. I might jump on. Ben's going to have to jump off, I think, after about an hour or so. So if there's still breaking news or ongoing news and stuff, we will be live for anyway. I might jump on with Man Mountain, but we'll see. O'Neill out of the running now, says Danny. Yeah, we know. Honestly, after a 92-point season, one summer, says Alessandro. Keep it Wilder and back him. O'Neill, thank God Sky said it isn't him. Sellers, a good choice, but a project man. Then Terzic, Farioli, or Motta. And Chris says, the way the board are dealing with this is absolutely disgraceful. The fans are the lifeblood of the club and deserve much better. Thank you to everybody that's joined me today. There's 2,000 people here. If you're not already, please do us a huge favour and come over and subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Other than that, do like the video. It really helps. If you've enjoyed it, please like the video. And we will see you very shortly. We're all over what's happening with Sheffield United. We want to be your #1 destination to whenever news breaks. The Ramble will be here to talk to you about it. That's why we've been able to grow significantly. It's a huge part down to you guys coming over and helping us out. So thank you again. Thank you, Chris Wilder. We'll be here when everything, unfortunately, gets confirmed as well. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades! Shout, shout,